Hi everyone, how's everyone doing today? It's Barb with Halfway to Sane. Today I'm just going to go through the timeline of Kohberger and the Idaho student murders. Four University of Idaho students discovered stabbed to death on November 23rd, 2022. What led officials to an arrest in the case and key dates in the investigation. So on November 13th, 2022, off-campus murders. Four University of Idaho students are found dead in the off-campus home where three of the victims lived in Moscow, Idaho. They had been brutally stabbed to death. The victims are identified as Ethan Chapman, 20 years old, of Conway, Washington; Madison Mogen, 21 years old, of Coeur d'Alene, boy, I butchered that, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho; Xana Kernodle, 20 years old, of Avondale, Arizona; and Kaylee Gonsalves, 21 years old, of Rathdrum, Idaho. On November 15th, the murder weapon Moscow Police Department issues a statement saying an edged weapon such as a knife was used in the killings and no murder weapon had been found. November 16th of 2022, police hold a press conference. The Moscow Police Department holds a press conference about the murders, and Police Chief James Fry says it was a targeted attack and we do not have a suspect at this time and that individual is still out there. November 17th, 2022, cause of death. The Latah County Coroner's Office reports the victims were likely asleep when they were stabbed with a large knife, and some had defensive wounds. So they didn't sleep all the way through it. They woke up during the attack, which is horrible. November 18th, 2022, tracing the victims' final steps. Police released an aerial map showing the times and locations where the victims were on the night of November 12th and in the early hours of November 13th. Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mogen were at the Corner Club between 10 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. They were seen at the food truck that I guess was outside of the establishment around 1:40 a.m. Ethan Chapman and Xana Kernodle attended a Sigma Chi party between 8 to 9 p.m. and were home by 1:45 a.m. On November 19th, the hunt for a suspect. Investigators say they do not believe the driver who brought two of the victims, Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mogen, home on the night of the murders is involved in the crime. They do not believe that driver is involved in the crime. On November 20th, detectives say they do not believe the surviving roommates or friends visiting the house at the time of the murders were involved. On November 22nd, investigators looked into extensively at information received about one of the victims, Kaylee Gonsalves, having a stalker. They have not been able to verify or identify a stalker. On November 25th, to this date, investigators collected 113 pieces of physical evidence and sent it to the Idaho State Police Crime Lab, and Idaho Governor Brad Little has directed up to $1 million in funds for the ongoing investigation. On November 30th, the University of Idaho holds a vigil in honor of the murdered students, and the most important message that we have for you and your families is to spend as much time together as possible with those people. That came from Stacy Chapman, Ethan's mother. December 7th, police announced they are interested in speaking with the driver of a white 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra spotted near the crime scene at the time of the murders. At a later date, the search was expanded to include Elantras from 2011 to 2016. On December 15th, A trooper's body cam captures a white Hyundai Elantra being stopped twice in Indiana for driving violations. The driver is 28-year-old Brian Kohberger, who is accompanied by his father. They were driving home from Washington State University for winter break and going to the family home in Pennsylvania. On December 18th, surveillance footage emerges of victims Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogen hours before the killings walking through downtown discussing a man named Adam. He is not considered a suspect. November 20th, investigators speak to an owner of a Hyundai Elantra located in Eugene, Oregon. The vehicle was involved in a collision and was impounded. The owner is believed to not have any connection to the Moscow, Idaho murders. December 30th, police announced that Brian Kohberger's arrest in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania for the murders of the University of Idaho students. He is being charged with burglary and 4 counts of first-degree murder. Kohberger was a PhD student at Washington State University, which is roughly 8 miles from the murder scene in Moscow, Idaho. Law enforcement say they were able to use forensic analysis to connect Kohberger to the scene of the crime. On January 3, 2023, at a hearing in Pennsylvania, Kohberger waives his extradition to Moscow, Idaho. On January 4th, Brian Kohberger is brought to Idaho. The judge issues a gag order which prohibits officials and others involved in the case from speaking about it. On January 5th, public offenders release an affidavit in the case against Brian Kohberger, and among the findings are: a witness claims she saw a figure of 5 feet 10 inches or taller, male, not very muscular, dressed in black clothing and a mask on the night of the murders. She said the masked figure walked toward the back sliding glass door and she locked herself in her room. The DNA found at the bottom snap of a leather knife sheath at the crime scene appears to be a strong match with the DNA found in the trash at the Kohberger family residence in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. Investigators believe the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 5:25 a.m. Kohberger applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department. In his application essay, he stated he had an interest in assisting in rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data. Investigators checked the movements of Kohberger's phone, and it stopped reporting a signal at 2:47 a.m. and appears to turn back on at 4:48 a.m. This means the phone may have been in an area without cell coverage or the phone was turned off. On January 12th, a preliminary hearing for Brian Kohberger was set for June 26th. He waived his right to a speedy preliminary hearing, with his defense team asking the court for time to prepare for the case. On May 5th, Kohberger, let me rephrase that, or start over, I should say. Newly released body cam video shows Brian Kohberger being pulled over for allegedly running a red light about a month before the killings. The video shows campus police at Washington State University stopping Kohberger on October 14th, 2022 in Pullman. The officer eventually lets him go with a warning. On May 17th, a grand jury indicted Brian Kohberger on 4 counts of first-degree murder and felony burglary for his alleged involvement in the killings, and the same 4 murder charges he was already facing. On May 22nd, 2023, judge enters not guilty pleas on Kohberger's behalf. At his arraignment, a judge entered a not guilty plea on Brian Kohberger's behalf after Kohberger did not respond in court when the judge asked him how he pleaded to the charges brought against him. Now, on June 21st, a DNA sample taken from Brian Kohberger revealed a near exact match to the DNA found on a knife sheath at the scene of the quadruple murders in Idaho last December. DNA found on the sheath was initially compared to DNA from trash recovered outside the Kohberger family home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania last year. A cheek swab was taken from Kohberger, allowed for another more direct DNA comparison. On June 26, prosecutors to pursue the death penalty, and well, that's it. I'm hoping he gets the death penalty. August 3rd, attorneys for Brian Kohberger claim he was going for a routine drive when the killings took place. On August 3rd, Kohberger's attorneys objected to the state's request for an alibi of his whereabouts on the night of the murders. In the documents, his attorneys claim Kohberger has long had a habit of going for drives alone and that he did so on the night and morning of the brutal killings. Kohberger's attorney said in the documents that witnesses may be able to testify he wasn't at the scene of the crime, and state law requires defendants to declare if they will present an alibi. And I don't think they did. On June 27th, a district court judge has set a June 25th start date for the Brian Kohberger's criminal trial. Both the defense and the prosecuting attorneys agreed to the court's proposal trial, schedule hearing, and a hearing in Latah County where the killings happened. Kohberger appeared at the hearing, and Latah District Judge John Judge said he anticipates the trial will last 3 months, and that would account for 2 weeks of jury selection, 8 weeks of the trial itself, and another 2 weeks for the verdict, sentencing, and anything else remaining. On October 10th, Kohberger's trial will begin on August 11th, 2025, and continue through November 7th, according to the scheduling order issued by the state of Idaho. It has been scheduled to start in June of 2025, which is still pretty much a long way away. But anyhow, that's what I have for you guys at this point. Any new information that comes up, I'll do my best to get it out to you. And do me a favor, if you will, please go ahead, subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Hit that thumbs up button and that notification bell so you know the next time I upload a video. Thanks, guys.